There, I'm Suzanne from the charity T.I.P, and I've been asked to make a wee video to try and help you understand what's going on in your brain when you get into a state of stress and how that's creating the behaviours that you maybe don't want to be doing, and that would be causing problems for you. We're going to talk about understanding and managing your own stress behaviours. Behaviour. What is it you hear? I'm sure you hear people saying to you all the time, why can't you just behave? How many times have I told you? Just control yourself. Why are you behaving this way? Or you might be going somewhere and you're being told, now come on, you need to behave, and they expect you to behave right now. And you just can't manage it. You go in there with the best of intentions, you want to behave, but something is making you misbehave. And people often ask kids, why did you do that? Why did you just not behave? And they don't know why. They have no answer. So hopefully today we're going to make this make a bit more sense. Why do we behave the way we do? Why? What's happening in our brain in these moments? And what can we do to help ourselves to feel better so that that's not happening? To start with, we need to start to reframe the way we talk about behaviour. And I do a lot of these workshops for adults, so you're not the only one getting this information. It is not naughty behaviour, it is not bad behaviour. You don't have anger issues, you're not a difficult child, you're not a bad child, you're not a naughty child. Every child does well if they can. They want to behave, they want to be doing well, they want to achieve. They don't. No child wants to be doing these behaviours. It is stress behaviour. That is what it is. It is caused by stress. And I'll explain all about that. So if we can stop using these words and start calling it what it is stress behaviour. It is not attention-seeking behaviour. It is connection-needing behaviour. This is not a conscious choice. Nobody makes a conscious choice to do this. It is a reaction to stress, and it is a need for connection with another human being that is creating all of these behaviours. The power of connection is so important for us as human beings. We are biologically designed to be in relationship. We are born and built to be in connection with other human beings. Human beings need connection to thrive and to survive. A baby needs its mother to feed it, to keep it alive. How else? An older person needs its younger generation to help them to be able to live and survive and live a long life. We do not live in isolation. We need each other. People need people, and we're seeing that now more than ever in a world where we can't be with the ones we love. We can't be near the people we want to see. How difficult is that being for us all as human beings to not have that connection and not have that contact with people? When we are stressed out or upset, the first thing we need is connection with someone safe. That is the first thing you want to do when you have something stressful or something upsetting happen to you. You instinctively, without thinking about it, you want to go to someone you feel safe with. You want to tell them about it. You want to speak to your mum or your dad. You want to speak to your friends. You want to speak to your teacher. You want to speak to your gran. Whoever it is that's in your life, your caregiver. You want that connection to tell them about what's happened, to have them talk to you about it and to help you start to feel better. So that's where that connection seeking behaviour is, not attention seeking, connection needing. You're actually going and looking for that to make you feel better. And your brain will find a way to do that. If that adult's not available to you, your brain will find a way to make them look at you, to make them see you, to make them interact with you, whether that's in a good way or a bad way. So it's how we learn how to see it, we can start to learn how to change it. When something good or bad happens, the first thing we do is tell another person we're in relationship with. So even when a good thing happens, you get so excited, you get good news, you've won something, or you've got an award, or you're going to be going on a trip that's amazing. You get so excited, you can't wait to come out of school and tell the person that you're in a relationship with. You can't wait to tell your parent or your carer or your grandparent or your friends or whoever it is, your brothers and your sisters. You can't wait to tell them because that's what you need. It's a need in us to have connection and to talk to other human beings and to tell them. And you might tell other people and other people and other people. And the same with something bad happening. It's just like I've said, you'll search that for that connection. Because when you talk to someone you're in a relationship with, it changes your brain, and I'll talk about why, but it releases oxytocin in your brain, which helps you to feel good again when something bad has happened. That's why you keep telling the same story to all the people that you know. Oh, I'll tell you what happened to me, or oh, I got bad news, and you'll tell them, and you'll tell them, and you'll tell them, and you'll keep telling them until you feel better. That is what human relationships are. Often some people don't have that available to them, and they don't know how to go to a parent and talk about how they feel, and maybe their parents are too preoccupied with their own stuff, and you don't know how to go to them and speak to them. But understanding that these behaviours all come from a state of stress and fear. By feeling overwhelmed and stressed out, when you start to get behaviours that you shouldn't do, it's because you're getting stressed out. It's too much stress and you're getting overwhelmed. Overwhelmed is that feeling of, I can't take any more of this. Oh my goodness, I don't know what I'm going to do next. And that's when you start to misbehave, stress behave. The brain does not work properly when it is full of stress. When our brains start to get stressed out, they stop working, they stop thinking, they stop making any sense. Our thinking is distorted and our short-term memory shuts down. You can't learn when you're in a state of stress. You can't connect with other people. You disconnect. When we get stressed out, we disconnect and we stop getting along with people. We start getting grumpy and we start getting a bit nippy. We get irritated with each other when we're stressed out. We need to, it's not until we're calm again that we can connect with people and start to get on a bit better with them. That's why you start getting a bit angry, and people might start getting angry with you because they're stressed out and you're stressed out. Our short-term memory shuts down. So all at the time you won't remember what you've done. People might say, why did you do that? And you don't actually know you did it. You might even lie about the fact that you did it because you didn't know that you had done it because your brain had shut down. And you also hadn't done it consciously. It was without thinking. Not think, we cannot learn, remember, or make any sense when our brains are in a state of stress. And we also go into fear. So we go into stress first, and then we go into fear. And that's when it gets really bad and we can't think clearly and our blood's pumping. Have you ever had that feeling like you can feel the blood pumping? Boom, boom, boom. You're so stressed. There's so much going on in your brain. It's so full. Stress, full. It's full of stress. It overwhelms you and you don't know what to do with that feeling. And that is when you might go into behaviours. So what happens to make you stressed is that there's a thing called triggers and transitions. Okay, triggers is going from one place to another, going from point A to point B, and it can be really scary. If you imagine your teacher comes to your classroom and says, come with me right now. You don't know why. And they march you along a hall and you don't know where you're going, you don't know what you've done, you don't know what's happening. How scary that would be. Now, it might actually be a good thing. You might be getting a treat, but you don't know. So your brain is like on high alert, is panicking, thinking, oh my goodness, what's going to happen? What have I done? That is that fear. That is that panic, that terror. You go into that stress and fear in those moments. Now, this is happening to a lot of us, all adults and children, all through the day. So you're transitioning from bedroom to living room, from living room to car, from car to school, from school to classroom, from classroom to lunch hall, from lunch hall to outside, back into classroom. All the time you transition. And every time you move, it causes stress. Not having to go when the bell rings causes stress. But there's also lots of other things causing stress. Anything unfamiliar, going anywhere new that you've never been before is really, really stressful until you understand that it's safe and you've done it once, and then you're happy to do it again. If your teacher came and took you out of your class and took you somewhere new, you would be really scared until you got there and you thought it was safe. And then you would feel fine. So that's stressful. But also the senses are happening all through the day. You've got smell, sight, sound, touch, taste. That's all coming at you. An overwhelming noise that gives you a fright. Lots of people moving about. It's too much to see. Lots of things on the wall. That's a lot to take in. All the chatter, all the noise, all the bells, all the smells at lunchtime, all the smells all around you all the time. Stress, 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 stress. People bumping into you didn't expect it. Bustle and hustle in the corridors. That's so stressful. All this stuff. Temperature being too hot, being too cold is stressful. Feeling hungry is really stressful. And movement, moving about, somebody moving you, making you go somewhere, or somebody bumping into you, like we said, that is stressful. So these things are happening all through the day, everywhere you go. Stress, stress, stress. Now, stress isn't necessarily a bad thing. We need stress in our lives. Stress is what makes us excited. There's good stress as well. Playing with friends causes stress. Getting excited about doing something new, going to a party, going on a day out, stress, but it's good stress, but it's still stress. So on top of all the other stress, that's why something's being excited is just as hard to cope with as being scared, because it's stress. And also, a big factor in this is that other people's stress causes us stress. Just being next to someone else who's stressed out and scared, you might even not know that they're stressed out and scared. You might just see their behaviours. It's going to make you feel stressed. We have a thing in our brain, we have hormones in our brain that affect each other just by being together. Because we're human beings, we're designed to interact with each other all the time. Your teacher could be stressed, your parent could be stressed, your friends could be stressed. Someone in your class that you sit next to could be stressed, and that stress is going to affect everybody else. So it's more stress on top of all this other stress. It's causing us to get overwhelmed, and it's too much. And a lot of the time we can manage stress, but sometimes it's just too much. And some people can't take a lot, and some people can take more than others, but eventually it can become too much stress. And that's when we tend to have these. So stress in the brain is a hormone called sorry, no, there's not. There's a hormone called cortisol, and it is the stress hormone. So what happens is that all of that stress we just talked about is coming at you all through the day. People around you might be stressed. That's affecting you as well. And your brain fills with this hormone, the stress hormone, and it shuts down your thinking, and it starts to make your brain crazy. You don't make any sense. You ever have that when you're in a panic? You can't actually remember how to walk or how to get your dip up or how to get your bag on, and you're in a panic and you get all flustered. That is the stress hormone in your brain. When a teacher maybe asks you a question on the spot and you can't think of the answer, even though you know the answer, that is the stress in your brain. It's happening to us all, adults as well. It's that panic, that stress, and you can't think clearly. When you can't remember the times table that you knew yesterday, that is the stress in your brain. So it floods your brain with this stress hormone. Your brain's not making any sense. You can't learn, you can't think, you can't connect with people because in the moment of stress, you disconnect. And you feel very alone and very isolated when you're really, really stressed. And also, when you're stressed, a lot of your old stuff is going to come back up for you, things that have scared you in the past, things that have happened to you maybe when you were younger. You're going to feel that same fear that you felt then because your brain is tricking you. Your brain tricked you all the time. Your brain tells you you're not safe, but you actually are safe mostly. But we don't realise that because we're so crazy with our stress in our brain and we don't stop. We don't look at what's really happening in the moment. And we just think, oh, the worst thing that's going to happen to me is about to happen again. And I'm really scared and I'm really stressed and I'm not making any sense. And we start to do this thing where our brain starts to think about things that might go wrong. It starts to think they're going to happen. It's when you think nobody's ever going to talk to me and I'm not going to have any friends and I'm not going to get my homework done in time and I'm going to be late for school and I'm going to get detention and I'm not going to, you start panicking about things that haven't actually happened. We all do it, parents too. We start to not stay now. We don't stay in the moment. We go way off into the future in our brain. We start worrying about things that aren't maybe never going to happen. That is all of the stress. That's our brain not making any sense. Okay, so understanding that that is what's going on in your brain and it's what's going on in other people's brains as well when we get stressed out. And also when that's been happening a lot, our brain gets used to doing that. It's like a habit we've learned, and it'll keep doing it and it'll keep doing it and it'll keep doing it. But when we get stressed, we digress. So I was talking about how we go back to something that might have scared us in the past. So think of if you had a fright, if you saw a spider in your house and you got a big fright, you're really scared of it. Every time you see a spider, you think it's going to scary. You think that it's going to hurt you. Because that is what you remember from the last time. So your brain goes back to that, and that's how you get scared again and again and again, even though it might actually not be that scary as it was the first time. We regress, we become, so when we get stressed, we regress. Our brain goes back to a younger time in our life. So you may be a 12-year-old in a moment of stress and fear, you again are a 5-year-old. In that moment, you emotionally are younger than you are now. You can't make sense of anything. You're not understanding what's going on. You're thinking about all the stuff that might happen, and you're back before when you were younger in that moment. And once you calm back down again, you're not emotionally younger. But just in that moment of stress and fear, recognize it. Sometimes people say act your age, not your shoe size, because in that moment of stress, you actually are younger. So are your people around you, and you think, why are they whining like a baby? Why are they crying like that? Why are they acting like that? Because they're stressed and regressed to a much younger state just in that minute, and they need to feel safe again so that they can then feel calm and come back to normal thinking again. This is how human beings